60 Minutes Overtime.
This week on 60 Minutes, we reported on voting rights. It's a topic primed to be top of mind as states gear up for their midterm primary elections. As we saw in 2020, some of the most heated anger around voting has not been directed at the politicians on the ballot, but at those charged with overseeing elections. We spoke with two lawyers who say these public officials have come under attack for simply doing their jobs. Ben Ginsberg is a Republican attorney who has spent his career steeped in election law. During the 2000 Florida recount, he was a key architect of the controversial legal strategy that won George W. Bush the presidency. Bob Bauer was Barack Obama's White House counsel and a senior advisor to the Biden campaign. The two are so concerned about threats to election workers, they've teamed up to create a nationwide network of lawyers to provide defense and advice pro bono to election officials facing intimidation or legal jeopardy.
They're under unprecedented threats and indeed harassment. And our goal is to give election officials and their staff full pro bono legal support through a volunteer network of lawyers, so that no election official who does feel under threat will go without representation that he or she feels is solidly and strongly behind them.
It's gotten to that level? It's that dangerous?
Yes.
They're being threatened?
These threats come in a variety of forms. There are statutory enactments in some states that put election officials at potential risk of criminal prosecution for simply making mistakes, so they'll be continually looking over their shoulder. There are threats being issued at them by state legislatures that are claiming that they engaged in some kind of misconduct and conducting sham audits to allegedly expose wrongdoing that in fact never occurred. And then there are personal threats. They're receiving personal threats to the safety of themselves and their families. In all of those cases, we want to make sure through the network, which has been set up, formally set up, that has enlisted many, many lawyers around the country, that any one of those officials who wants consultation, reassurance, or active representation to defend against these threats has that help available on a free of charge basis.
Have any election officials around the country reached out to you already?
Sadly, yes. When we began this, we anticipated this as a network that would have an increasing workload the closer we got to the elections. And we've frankly been stunned by the number of election officials we've heard from already who have felt that they needed to be able to talk to an attorney of their own to be able to resolve either the threats of law or the personal threats to them.
What are they telling you?
You know, it's different depending on the case, but by and large, the activities that they have always undertaken to run our elections are being politicized, criminalized, and basically taken to a different level of uncomfortableness for them.
Are you hearing this from election officials as well as perhaps people who volunteer on election day? Are you hearing it from everybody across the board?
We're hearing from people in officialdom primarily, people who have formal statutory, regulatory responsibility for elections. But one of the messages that we're sending out is that those who are threatening them, threatening these officials, whether they're full-time, whether they're volunteers, whether they're in positions of the most senior responsibility or they're simply on the staff, those who threaten them need to know they cannot act with impunity.
Why I'm particularly concerned at this stage is that the people I've represented for the last 40 years, the Republican Party, is taking a position that I think is not supportable by the facts and does have a particularly pernicious effect on the democracy.